in our university. So let's go ahead and get started. Please, you can use the chat to pop your questions. If you want to ask a question out loud, if you don't mind waiting until the end, there will be a Q&A section, and that'll probably be a really good spot to do that. So turn your volume up because the next thing you're going to see is a really cool video. So here we go. So that's a brief little video that shows you the exciting Macon, Georgia, which is where Mercer University is located. The undergraduate programs are located here on our Macon campus. So let me show you a little bit about our hometown, Macon. Really important to note, we are really close to Atlanta, Georgia, which is the capital of the state of Georgia. It is home to the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, which is the busiest airport in the world. So, if you choose Macon, if you choose Mercer, it's super easy to get in and out since it's such a large hub. It's a hub for Delta Airlines. So any airline that partners with Delta, that is a hub for them as well. So real easy access. Okay, so now let me tell you a little bit about Mercer. So Mercer University is home to more than 9,000 students, but it's important to note that those 9,000 students are distributed across the state of Georgia. We have many different campuses serving many different purposes. The one you're interested in is our residential undergraduate program. That's what you would be trying to join here in Macon, Georgia. And you can see we only have around 3,500 students. We max out at that level for undergrad. We never want to go above that because we really like that individual experience that students get with such a small university. Within our university, we have 12 schools and colleges, and we have 42 states and more than 57 countries represented among the student population. You can see a demographic breakdown at the bottom. Campus life is very, very exciting. So this guy right here, you can see that's Toby Bear. He is our mascot, and we absolutely love Toby. So on campus, there is always something going on. We have more than 155 student organizations. If you get here and you see, hey, there's not this organization, I think we need this on Mercer's campus, it's really easy to set up. You just find a campus advisor who will help you with that. You put in a petition, student government either approves or denies. If it's approved, they give you seed money to help you get started. So it's really easy to get something started if you see that we're missing something. We have 19 fraternities and sororities. These are both social and service fraternities and sororities. And we're a Division I sports campus. So that means that we've got really top level players at both the men's and women's level. Service opportunities are available all year for students, and that's a huge part of our ethos here at Mercer, big part of our community. Something really, really important at Mercer is research. So it's important to note that we are a an undergraduate research facility. Now, what that means for you as an undergraduate student is that once you get started as early as your first year, first semester, first year, you're eligible to start doing research. And I don't mean, labeling test tubes. What I mean is you're actually getting your hands dirty in a lab coat, in a lab, doing actual research. So that makes us unique. You can see that we have a really small class size. Average is 21. Some of the early classes that you take in your freshman and sophomore year might be bigger. There might be 50 or 60 students in it, but those would have labs that break out so that you would have the individual smaller class size for the lab instruction. Student to faculty ratio is nice and small, 13:1. And again, what that means for you is that you're going to be on a first name basis with your professors and with your deans. They are going to know who you are. And it's important that you really get to know who your faculty members are because they're here to help you. And you can see we have more than 65 undergraduate majors here on our Macon campus. More than 50% of students at the undergraduate level are participating in research, and that's across disciplines. Our business school students, our students in media studies, definitely the sciences and engineering. These kids are out there doing research, and a lot of them are published, co-published by the end of their freshman year. Really exciting stuff happening on our campus. So I mentioned at the top service. Service is something really, really important to Mercer University and to our campus. So a few things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about something called Go Baby Go. And I want you to look at this picture. This is Go Baby Go. I'm going to talk about Mercer on Mission. These two are Mercer on Mission. And then these other just represent other opportunities that happen around our community. So Mercer on Mission is a super cool program that is unique to Mercer. It is a program that allows students to go over the summer for 5 weeks. Well, really they go for 3 weeks abroad. And when they go abroad, they are actually doing project work that is putting theoretical knowledge that they're learning in their classes into practice out in the world. And it's making a huge impact, both on our students and on the population that we work with there. Go Baby Go, let me see if I've got this here. No, okay. So Go Baby Go, I'll just go back here. So you see this little car. So what Go Baby Go does is we take these small cars for children and our students retrofit all of the wiring so that it goes underneath the car and can be moved. They can move the controls of the car. Now, once they've moved everything, the next day, the kids come in, we find out what their needs are, we make tweaks to the car, and students with physical disabilities are able to use these cars. So for example, if a kid doesn't have use of their legs, all of the controls are moved up so that they're hand controls, including the brakes and the gas. They're electric cars, and it's really, really exciting to watch students, these kids, get in these cars and they take off. They play, and it's super, super fun. They can come back every year because, kids grow. They need a bigger car. And so they bring back the old car, we give them a new car, and they're able to take that home and play with it. It's a really, really great opportunity for our students to make a difference. Mercer on Mission is, as I mentioned, it's unique to Mercer. Our flagship program is Mercer on Mission Vietnam. And this is primarily a program for our biomedical and mechanical engineering students. Kinesiology students and health sciences majors are also invited to participate. But if it's something that you're really, really interested in, I would encourage you, if you come to Mercer, make sure you get to know the program lead, and express your interest and explain why you're interested, because they can probably make it work. So this particular program started in 2009. As I mentioned, it's our flagship. We fit more than 21,000 amputees with prosthetics. So you might remember that in Vietnam, there was a big war. There are a lot of unexploded landmines still laying around. Hundreds of thousands of these are still littering the countryside. And people will walk on them and they explode. And of course, it has disastrous consequences. They lose a leg or an arm or a hand. So what we do is we have developed a really low-cost prosthetic limb that we produce there in Vietnam at a factory very close to the clinics that we run. And what happens is patients come in, the students do all of the work under the guidance of the program leads and the doctors. So they do the intake of the patients, they find out their story, they do the measurements that they need so that we can build this artificial limb for them. When the limb is ready, we ask the client, the patient, to come back, and our students work with them. You can see students here working to make sure that that limb fits properly. They do any kind of tweaks that they need to, and once they've got the limb on, they send the patient to another team who helps them learn how to articulate the limb. So we have above the knee, below the knee, and full hand and arm prosthetic limbs at the moment. And what is so amazing is that by the end of the day, these patients are able to literally walk out of the clinic on their own power for the first time in a long, long time. Or they're able to actually sign their name with the hand that they're used to signing their name with. It is a life-changing experience for our students because they get to see something they've never seen before, and they get to experience the satisfaction of actually making a difference in someone's life. I think our students are more impacted than the patients who are receiving the limb. It's a really amazing program, and as I mentioned, it's unique to Mercer. We have around 45 different programs. They don't all run every year. There are select programs that run, and you do get college credit for it. The really cool thing is that you pay for the hours, so you pay for your tuition fees, which are highly reduced in the summer, and you pay for your visa fees, and Mercer covers everything else. They'll pay for your airfare, accommodation, meals, transportation in the country, because it's such an impactful experience, and it's really, really representational of who we are as a culture. And I'll tell you that when students go on this trip, it's not a fun, I mean, it's fun, but it's not like a pleasure trip. There's not a lot of side trips happening. These kids go in and they're working 12, 13-hour days because they want to make the biggest impact possible. It's really, really amazing. So once you've gone through your program, you probably are wondering, hey, what are the possibilities? Am I going to get a job or not? So I'm really proud to say that with the graduating class of 2023, we do a survey after every big graduation, and we find out, what are you doing? For the graduates, we ask, what are you doing? Tell us what you're doing. So 95% of our students are either employed or in graduate school 6 months after they've earned their degree. That's a really huge success rate. And that's the overall Mercer success rate. Within some of the departments, it's 100%. Our students are highly, highly sought after because employers know how amazing our students are. You can see some of the organizations where our students are working. Some of these you might not know. The Falcons, this is an American football team. I know everybody knows Amazon. King and Spalding is a big law firm. McKeeson, they build airplanes. NASA, NBC, TBS is a television broadcasting. And then there's so many more. So a few things for you to be aware of. It's really great that you're here. I'm assuming that most of you, that you're all going to be applying for fall of 2026. So these are the deadlines. They're really important deadlines. August 1st is when the applications open. Our two most important deadlines that I want you to have your application submitted by. And by that, I mean your application is submitted and all of your supporting documents are in. It has to be a complete file to qualify, okay? So November 1st and December 6th. By getting your application complete and submitted by these dates, not only are you going to get you're going to find out if you've been admitted or not, your decision early, but it's going to make you eligible for consideration for all of the amazing scholarships that we have at Mercer. So our initial scholarship upon admission is a merit-based award, and it's anywhere from $18,000 to $25,000 per year. And that's yours for 4 years, provided you maintain a certain GPA. It also is going to, so the admission, that scholarship, that merit-based, that's good all year. The early action deadline allows you to be eligible for something called the Presidential Scholarship. That is a scholarship that will cover the full cost of tuition and fees for your spring and fall term. That's a really huge savings of about $44,000 a year. November 1st deadline also allows you to be eligible for something called the Stamps Scholarship. If you're not familiar with it, Google Stamps Foundation. It is a scholarship that's administered by an outside organization. They partner with Mercer and other universities, and it covers the full cost of tuition, plus a research stipend, plus a brand spanking new iPad. It is incredibly, incredibly competitive. There are a handful of students who are actually awarded this scholarship, and typically we only have one international student who gets this. So I would never want you to apply thinking, I'm going to get the Stamps Scholarship. It is never a sure thing. It is super duper competitive. But you have as good a chance as anybody if you're selected to compete for that. The second deadline makes you eligible still for the Presidential Scholarship, that one that covers full tuition and fees. At this point, the Stamp Scholarship is off the table. After the December 6th scholarship deadline, the maximum award you're going to be able to get is the merit-based award. So it is incredibly important for you to have everything submitted by the deadline. Okay, that means leaving exams, that means everything. Now, this is the profile for our class that came in the fall of 2024. You can see, now let me just give a little caveat here. So for the past several years, most universities in the United States have been test optional, and that is a result of the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. The centers were closed, so students couldn't take the SAT or the ACT. From fall 26 on, that means the next application cycle that opens August 1st, that is not the case. We are going to be a test required institution. So I'm really happy you're here today because now you know this. You can start working on your SAT and ACT scores now. I would highly encourage you to enroll in a test prep course. If you're unable to afford it, find out if there is an Education USA in your city or country. If there is, they offer free resources for students to study for the SAT and the ACT. And if you need help with payments, they sometimes can help secure sponsorship for you for that test. Okay, so super important. Education USA, it might be called the Fulbright Commission where you are, but really important. Google it, see if it's available. Go ahead and get started now in getting involved with them because they offer great services for free for students. So let me get back to this profile. So of the students who submitted their test scores for the fall 2024 applications, but the median score was of ACT 24 to 30, for SAT 1170 to 1340. Now, there were students with lower scores and higher scores who were admitted. But I'll tell you, if you're looking for those big scholarships, the Presidential Scholarship and the Stamps Scholarship, you're going to need to be above this top end. So I'm talking 1,500 plus for the SAT. Okay. It's really, really important. And you can see that the average GPA for our students is above a 4.0. It's a weighted average. Students are taking really rigorous classes. So that's an important distinction as well. So before we get to questions, just want to share with you our social media sites. I encourage you to go ahead and follow us on these places so that you can see what's happening. There's a lot of really cool stuff going on. We have international students who are in charge of some of these feeds. So, they make sure that you're able to see what's happening for international students at Mercer University. And then I want you to take a picture of this so that you can reach out to me and ask me questions. Yeah. So let me stop sharing my screen. And let's get to it. What kind of questions do we have? Hi, Kathy. It's good to see you. You're on mute, so I can't hear you. You're still on mute. If you want, you can type your question.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Hey, how's it going? So what's your question, Kathy?
Okay. Ma'am, actually, I don't have any questions for now.
Oh, okay. Okay. You just wanted to say, hey, hi. Good to see you. Yeah. Luma, how about you? Do you have any questions for us today? And you're on mute. Kathy, if you don't mind muting yourself again.
Can you hear me?
I can.
So I actually had a few questions about my situation because I am a US citizen, but I also am a
Terrific.
Brazilian citizen
Okay.
because I was actually born in Marietta, Georgia,
No way. How about that?
and I lived there until I think I was like 3 or something, and then I moved to Tennessee.
Okay.
And I lived there until the end of my 8th grade year. Sorry, my camera's really dirty.
Oh,
Okay.
it doesn't matter.
And when I was gonna start my 9th grade year, so like in the US, it ends in May, right? The school year. And then I moved to Brazil, where I'm living now, and I lived in this kind of like bigger city called Goiânia, which is kind of like I think like kind of like the Atlanta of Brazil, or where the state I lived in, because it was
Okay.
really big. Like all the cities are set up like New York, so it's really hard to go access everything. But I s- I think I was like I got here in July, and then I started school in January because the school year here is January to December, and then like the
Okay.
summer break is only like July. And
Okay.
so I went to school at the school in Goiânia for 1 year, only one, because I didn't really know how to read or speak Portuguese because I hadn't learned. I only spoke it in my house with my parents. And
Okay.
then now I'm studying on like I do school through the Ogburn School, which is an online school um set in Florida. And
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
how my application process is going to be.
Okay, so it's going to be the same. So the application process is the same for everybody. Um, the only difference with international students is, some of the documentation that they have to submit. So since you're an American citizen and you are going to your school there in Florida, you'll be graduating. When will you graduate?
2026
So
May.
in like May 2026. Okay.
Yeah.
So and I'm sure that they're an accredited high school in the United States. So you'll just apply like any other American citizen. You
American
actually,
citizen?
yeah, because you said you're an American citizen, right?
Yes, but when I was so it's getting like close to the time for the SATs and all.
Right?
I made my account on the college board and I had to put in my address, but I live on a farm that's really common here in Brazil.
Mhm.
So we don't really have addresses because they're like in the middle of the woods, you know?
Right, right.
No, like the roads here are just like dirt. There's no
Okay.
pavement or anything. So I don't really have an address. So I put my aunt's address because she lives in like a bigger city. And then
Okay.
it told me for like a little while that I couldn't like apply or anything. I don't know what happened, but I couldn't like register for the SAT, but I fixed that. So now I can. But like I can't apply for any scholarships or anything like that because it says you have to be like a US resident. And I don't really
Okay.
have any like clubs or anything to help me get into that because that's not really common in Brazil. So I
Okay.
don't know what to
So
do.
it sounds like, I mean, I don't think you're going to have a problem. You're just going to complete, I would recommend the Common App because that's going to allow you to apply to a lot of different schools with one application. Um, and I mean, I think as long as you take your SAT, do a lot of practice, make sure you're able to do really well on it, I don't think you're going to have a problem. What you can do, if you'd like, is why don't you set up a meeting with me? Just send me an email and say, hey, let's meet, and we'll work together and figure out a time so we can meet. And then that way you can kind of share some of your documents with me, and I'll be able to take a look, and that might be able to help answer whatever your questions are a little bit more easily. But for you, I don't think it's going to be an issue. You will be eligible for scholarships. Mercer gives scholarships to domestic as well as international students. We have a lot of American citizens who live outside of the United States who apply and are accepted, and they get these amazing scholarships too. So that's not going to be an issue for you. So you don't need to worry about that.
Hmm. And something else that I just wanted to say, like to the others, I here, like in Brazil, every like I guess country has like their own SAT or ACT. In the US, I guess it's the ACT and SAT. Here in Brazil, there's something called the ENEM. And it's basically that, except you do it for every single year of high school. And it
Oh,
does
right.
count
Those are
towards your
like,
college.
yeah.
And I was looking at places like testing centers because I contacted various schools in Marietta because I have family friends there. And they said that I should look at testing centers here in Brazil But since they don't offer the SAT or the ACT, I would have to do the ENEM, which is set all in Portuguese, which is not really the best for me. So even if I did the ENEM, it wouldn't really count as the SAT or the ACT because it's just one test. And so I
Okay.
actually have a flight that I'm gonna book to go to the US
Oh,
to
cool.
take that SAT at one of my friend's schools.
Oh, I think that's great. So it sounds like you found a good workaround for that.
Hmm.
There are SAT centers in all around the world. So maybe it's just where you live. Maybe that's why it's limited. But that's a college board thing. I don't really, I know that we do have students who submit SAT scores from around the world. So that would be an issue to look at with the college board.
Yeah, because I looked at the testing centers and it was actually one of the first things that popped up there was the high school that I was originally supposed to go to if I was gonna continue going to school here in Brazil. But they don't offer that.
Hmm.
And some of the schools in the US said I couldn't do the SAT or the ACT there because I didn't live there. So that's a little bit complicated. But I did get around that
Okay,
and
good,
I'm going
good.
there in July.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. And I wish you the best of luck on that test. Study hard because it's not an easy test. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll let the others ask some questions
Okay.
now and I mute myself.
Does anybody else have questions for us? Bhavika, do you have questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, great. We're happy you could join us today.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Rivi, do you have any questions that you'd like me to answer?
Yeah, no, firstly, just for the viewers, if you're watching this at the end of April onwards, there are also four other um webinars that we've conducted with Mercer University as a partnership. And so those cover like various other topics like what it's like to be an international student at Mercer University. We are going to dive deeper into the financial aid opportunities that Mercer has, especially for international students. So just go check out the rest of our channel if you're interested. But yeah, I have quite a few questions.
Oh, fabulous. Fire away.
Yeah, so first of all, just I guess um something that you enjoy about Macon. I just wanted to know, so for me, when I was applying to college, um surprisingly enough, like I really, really cared about like the space around the university as well and the community that we can be involved in. If it's a small college town or a big city, those were like considerations that like a lot of my friends also had and a lot of our scholars also have. So why don't you just talk to us a little bit about your favorite things to do in Macon, what you love about Macon, so on. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's a great question. So, there are several things I like about Macon. It's not too small. It's definitely not too big. Um, and there's always something going on. So, for example, today, well, let me back up. We have this big festival called the Cherry Blossom Festival. Macon, Georgia, I think I read this statistic and I'm going to have to check myself, but I think we have more cherry trees than even Washington, D.C. So it is a huge, huge deal here. We just passed all the beautiful blooms. So the Cherry Blossom Festival is something super cool. And part of that happens today, and that is a soapbox derby. So what that means is people build these cars out of weird materials and they have a race. So that's one thing that's happening today. There's always something really cool like that going on. Macon has a really cool downtown that has good restaurants. And for someone like me, I really love live music. So there are tons of opportunities for hearing live music. And These band names are not going to mean anything to you, these people, but I want you to write them down and look them up. So, the Allman Brothers Band was founded here in Macon, Georgia. They have a song called Rambling Man. And it says, I was born in the back seat of a Greyhound bus rolling down Highway 41. Highway 41 is like less than a mile from my house. So that, I kind of love that connection with one of my favorite musical acts and the fact that I'm in the town where they were. So that's really cool to me. There's a really famous musician named Otis Redding. A lot of his music has been covered by so many groups. He is from Macon, Georgia, and they just opened up a new museum, the Otis Redding Center. So that kind of thing really excites me. And one other thing is we do experience 4 seasons here. My favorite are spring and fall. Summer, it gets really hot and humid. That's probably one of the things. The humidity, I'm not a big fan of. It's great for your skin, but oof, when it's really, really hot, it's like you're swimming through the atmosphere. And our winters are pretty mild. So, yeah, those are some things. Great questions. And let me just say one more thing about our campus. So our campus is quite historic in American terms. So the university itself was founded in 1833. Again, by American standards, that's really, really old. And we moved to our current location in the 1850s. It is a beautiful campus. You can see it behind me. This building here is the main administration building. And it's just really beautiful. It's such a pretty campus, and it's not too big. You can walk from one side to the other in less than 10 minutes. So it's real easy to get around. Great question.
Yeah, I remember like finding this out about like a couple of weeks ago that Mercer is like I think the oldest university in Georgia. I think I'm not sure if
I'm
that's
not sure
correct,
if,
but
I think UGA might be older than us, but
okay,
I'm not
okay.
sure. I'm not sure. I'd have to
Yeah, I
Google.
think I should check that as well. But I think yeah, I was just surprised. I was really pleasantly surprised by how much history that the university has.
Yeah,
Yeah, so and yeah, the campus looks beautiful. I want to talk a bit about Mercer's community, specifically like well, we are gonna talk more about this next week actually about info with the international student panel. But if you can just give us a taste of like what kind of like if there are any international student clubs or any kind of customs, anything that kind of international students feel really part of. Yeah.
absolutely. So I'm really proud to say that our international students are fully integrated with the domestic students. They're not like treated separately or differently. So as far as clubs, so you may remember at the top, I mentioned that you're able to form your own club if you want to. So we have this really cool student. He's really amazing. He was our first international stamp scholar, in fact. He's from Nepal, and he got here and realized that there was one computer type club that he really thought that we needed and we didn't have. And he formed this club, and just last week his club got an award for the best club on campus. Yeah, they went from 0 to 150 members in like 1 year. And I'm just really proud of him for that. So yeah, thank you. My one of my colleagues, has really helped the international community at Mercer. So she has devised this thing that we do. It's a weekly international student hangout. And this is held in our office. It's right down the hall from my office. And it's just a chance for our students to come. We have snacks and drinks and music for students to come and just catch up with one another, catch up with us, have a chance to study or relax or whatever it is they want to do. They, it's their couple of hours, they can do it. And that's something really cool because it gives our students, they're so busy. It's dedicated time where they can actually get together and catch up. So I really like that. Another cool thing that we do, and this is through our Office of Global Education, fancy way of saying our study abroad office. We have a monthly spotlight on one of the countries where our students are from. So this month it was Japan. We have some exchange students from Japan. So the way we do this is we have 1 week, we have a table set out on our main quad called Cruise Plaza, and we have snacks from that country. And we have a table full of snacks, and we tell students, come by and taste all of these Japanese snacks. The next week, the student or students from that country do what we call coffee and culture, and they do a presentation to give us an insight into their culture and their country so that we can learn more about it. And then a couple of weeks later, we pull it all together. We have an event, a trivia night where students are tested on their knowledge from the previous two events. And whatever team wins or person, I think it's by person, wins, their name gets thrown into a drawing at the end of the year for an iPad. So it's a really fun way for students to learn about different cultures, and they're pretty well attended. It's just real fun to learn straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak, about that. Yeah, so those are some really cool things that our international students have been up to.
Yeah, I mean, because it's one of the biggest questions that we get in terms of inquiries. Just a lot of people who are just not sure about whether they would feel like they fit in a foreign environment. And, as an
Absolutely.
international student myself, like it is hard at times. Like these systems that I'm interacting with are foreign to me, but, everyone's kind of learning as they go. And something that we can keep in mind is that, even for a lot of the US citizens that are starting college, they might be from another state. So this might be
For
foreign to
sure.
them too. So like there's a common kind of understanding of like what kind of the experience there as well. So thank you for going into so much detail. I felt really inspired by the story of the club.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, well, you spoke in great detail about, the scholarship opportunities and financial aid that Mercer University offers. Um, and and first of all, like wow, like just getting a free iPad is huge. And I also wanted to mention that we just shared the post, if you're watching, that one of our scholars, Aknara Fonseca, got a STEM scholarship to Mercer University as well. So you can learn more about her journey and her interests, two weeks down the line now. And yeah, we're just excited. I'm so excited for her. And
Yeah, we are too. We're very excited. She just was able to get like fully enrolled last week, and now
yeah,
she's working on the visa process.
yeah,
So we're really, really excited for her.
yeah, yeah. So I did want to just have a clarification about your SAT policy. So are you
Yes.
SAT optional for the
For
Muslim?
fall
Yeah,
25, which is the current cycle,
yeah,
we're still test optional.
right,
But starting from the next admission cycle for fall 2026, we will be not test optional,
right,
test only. Yeah.
right, right.
And I think a lot of universities around the
Yeah,
US are doing the same thing.
yeah. That's good to know. And that's something that because the Strivers Network, we started in the thick of the pandemic. This was in 2021, and so we we are starting to put more emphasis on the SAT prep in our programs as well because of that. So quite a shift, and I see, and I kind of see why. So
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it is a really, really good indicator of success, that SAT. Because if you can do well on that SAT, you're going to be able to do very well in college.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It in my mind, it's the least skewed in terms of like socioeconomic background. Like
Right.
it's kind of an equalizer. It's not a perfect equalizer, but it is a great equalizer, is what I've heard.
Yeah,
Um,
and I just want to say one more thing for Luma. This isn't really for you because you're an American citizen, but so one of the really cool things about us moving to the test only, one of the documents that international students, depending on where you're from, they have to submit is an English proficiency score. And so that is often an added expense of, sitting for the IELTS or the TOEFL or Duolingo. But if you take the SAT or ACT, there's that English score that's embedded, and that's the score that we can use. So you're not going to have to do an extra test. The SAT or ACT is going to be kind of a one-stop shop for that.
yeah, very important. Thank you for mentioning that. So again, another admissions question for you. I so yeah, what so like admissions criteria can kind of vary from university to
Mhm.
university.
Mhm.
So I just wanted to know a little more about what exactly Mercer University looks for and what makes that, unique among other universities.
Yeah, so, and we'll talk a little bit more in depth about this when we do the international students and the application process. Um, but I would say for Mercer, what's really, really important is a history of service and volunteer activities. That is really critical to who we are as a campus culture. So if Mercer is a place that you're interested in, you want to make sure that if you haven't gotten anything yet, get started, do volunteer work, do service activities so that you can, have those reflected on your application. Leadership skills are important, and oftentimes students gain those through extracurricular activities at school. So maybe you're in a club, you play a sport. It's really important that, if you're able to get a captain or co-captain position on your team, do it. And think about the skills that you're learning, because that skill building, those leadership skills are really, really important. And I know that's important for other universities as well as Mercer. So activities, volunteerism, skill development, and of course, academically, you need to be pretty sound. You saw what our average GPA is for accepted students. There are students who have lower GPAs than that, but not really low. Like if you've got, I would say if it's below a 3.75, it might be hard to get into Mercer. Maybe 3.5, depending on what your SAT, ACT score is. But those are all done on a case by case basis. We kind of look at you. We look at your profile, we look at your application, and um, you know, we do a holistic review. So it's kind of all of those factors.
Yeah, you did two things. You answered a question that I was just about to ask, which is what makes Mercer special.
Uh-huh.
Because it's easy to think that, the opportunities, especially if you need full financial aid as an international student. I remember like a few years ago, I would think, oh, it's, the only possible opportunities for you are like in the like the Ivy Leagues or like liberal arts colleges. So this like really this webinar like really challenged my like view in that sense. So I just wanted you to like just comment on that, like wow, like why people are kind of obsessed with like the rankings and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think just we see so many movies and we hear about these Ivy League schools really in movies and on TV. And I think most students really can't envision that there are other opportunities available at different universities around the United States. The rankings, yeah, they're important. It's nice to go to a school that's in the top 10, but it's really hard to get into those. Not, and that's okay. You don't have to go to that school. There are so many great colleges and universities in the United States. Mercer is one of them, who don't fall even in the top 100. I think we're just over 100. I don't know what our ranking is because to me it's not important. And I think that it's really, really important for you guys to know that there are amazing opportunities for you at different universities all around the United States. What you need to do is what my students in the past have done. So you kind of have an idea, what is my major going to be? What am I thinking I want to do? And then you're going to sit down with your computer and with Google or whatever search engine you use, and you are going to say what universities in the United States offer this major. And you're going to get a big old list. And then you're just going to start going through school by school, looking at them, determining if it sounds good or not. Look at, do they offer, is it like Mercer where there's a flat rate? There's no extra cost if you're an international student. We don't charge you extra if you come from outside the state of Georgia. Is it a school like that? Or are you going to get hit with a higher fee because you live outside the state, outside the country? That's a really important thing to look at. And then I would say, look at the mission and vision of the university, because that's going to tell you what does that university find to be important? What are their values? Are those values backed up by what you see on the website? So if they say every student majors in changing the world like we do at Mercer, look at what's happening. Are the students actually getting out there? Are they really trying to change the world? Or is it just lip service? Is it just a pretty slogan? I think that's a really important thing to do as you're narrowing down where you want to go. And then, there are going to be other factors that are important to you, like you, Rivi. Is it in a big city? Is it in a small city? Is it, what is the student life like? What do the demographics look like? Does it look like what is the weather like? Is it, going to be in North Dakota where it's below freezing for like the whole winter? Or is it going to be someplace like here where you have a winter, it does get really cold, but you're not going to be stuck inside for 6 months because it's so cold outside? I exaggerate a little bit, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that would have been like the perfect like last question. But I do have one more like kind of a clarification.
Sure.
You mentioned GPA and like the median GPA. So for Sri Lankan students, like they come to us with no knowledge of what a GPA is and like how to calculate it for themselves. So for international students, does Mercer University still require a numerical GPA, or are there ways to kind of try to kind of glean that?
That is a really great question. So we actually are able to do the conversions in-house. I'm certified as a transcript evaluator to do that. So unless it's something really complicated and weird, I'm going to be able to do that for you, and you're not going to have to get an outside evaluation. If you're asked for an outside evaluation, it means that it's just something that is just too uncommon and too strange for me to be able to figure out, honestly. But I mean, I can tell you over the last 3 years, I've had to ask for 2 outside evaluations. I've been able to do all of them myself. So that's a really good question. We provide that service. And that's another thing to look at when you are looking at universities that you want to apply to. Am I going to have to go through the extra expense of getting my credentials evaluated by an outside evaluation company? Or is the university going to be able to do that for me for free? Yeah.
Yeah, I did not know that there was a certification for transcript evaluation. Like I
Yeah.
learn something new about college admissions every time I talk to someone. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. So those were the questions that I had. Thank you so much. I like learned so much more about Mercer, and that makes me all the more excited about Aknara as well. So thank you for that. To everyone who joined, thank you as well for your time. Thank you for staying on this long. And I really learned about like I got a better understanding of like what kind of questions international students have thanks to your questions. So that would help us improve like future programming. And most importantly, thank you, Beth, for your time and for the time you will be giving us for the coming
My
month.
pleasure.
Yeah, so it's great to work with you. Does anyone have anything that they want to share before we close off for today? Okay, great. Thanks again for joining.
Thanks, everybody.
We'll see you next week then, weekend. Thank you. All right.